Stamina gives you the ability to do things inside of Etheria Restart, and as a new player, you're going to want to know the best, most efficient ways to utilize your stamina inside of the game. Today, we have a guide for you so that you know exactly where to focus all of your stamina so that you can get the most rewards and resources on day one. Now, if you've never played Etheria Restart, or if you're someone that's just been looking at it and deciding that now is the time to play the game, this QR code right here will get you the game with additional rewards on day one. I also have a link for you in the description of the video. And before we go any further, I need to thank Etheria Restart for sponsoring today's video. I got Hermes with me again here today, and we're going to be going through this guide on stamina. What's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited. This is definitely something that was a learning curve for me all throughout the beta. So I'm excited to kind of share some information for people just joining the game so they don't have to go through like the same kind of pain points that I did early on.
Yeah, and you know what? You bring up a good point right there because there have been people that have been within this genre, this anime turn-based strategy gotcha mechanic game for a really long time. A lot of content creators have been out there, but you and I, we've been in the turn-based strategy space, but we're new to the anime gotcha space. So we're learning stuff as we go, which is really great because we have the ability to learn these new things as newer players to the genre and then share that information with many of you who are probably in the same position. So a little bit of a unique take that we offer here on this channel, and Hermes is with me in every single video, tag teaming this content to give you guys the best guide. So where are we starting out today? This stamina, man, it's important so that you can actually do things. It's essentially the energy system inside of the game. What are some of the first tips that you have regarding utilizing this resource?
So obviously, I know we've talked about in videos before, making sure that you're buying your stamina, right? And the most important thing when it comes to stamina is, especially in this early game, is, as you're progressing, is buying those stamina refills with your Hydra crystals. Obviously, today we're on the test server, so we have got a dumb amount of gems or Hydra crystals. Don't really expect anyone to really get to that level unless you're like an Uber Kraken, but really focus on trying to buy those refills as much as you can. But the other tip is that you do get passively, you do get energy refills up to that stamina cap, which I want to say is like 199 at the top. But really, you're going to be staying around 100 to 120 as you progress through the game. So try to spend as much of that as you can before you buy the next refill, so you're still getting that passive energy or stamina income.
Yeah, in this genre overall, I always like to have I like to have my resources generating themselves. So I'm not going to have it sitting there capped out so I can't generate over time. So really smart first tip there, a basic one, but great for players that are new to the space.
Yeah, definitely. And so then obviously going through that, going with that, you obviously want to make sure you can progress through as much content as you can as you get through the game. And the number one way to do that is when you're going through and you're doing the main campaign mission. So it's actually not even in here. It's going to be, I don't remember if we go through on the side panel, I know it's up in there. Sometimes it's been a couple days since I've been able to get on this game, and it makes me so excited for launch to get my hands back on it, knock off this little bit of rust. But yeah, right in there in the main quest, making sure you're going through and unlocking each and every piece of this, because each and every time that you want to progress, it's not just leveling up your account level, but it's also coming through these main quest areas and unlocking those. And really, they don't take a whole lot of time. It only takes anywhere, I would say anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes, depending on how many of the cutscenes you're really listening to get through a different section.
Yeah, I have to say the cutscenes are awesome, but I'm also one who skips through them. I'm not a big story person, but they did do a nice job on that inside of the game for those that are into that type of, taking the game in that direction. All right, so now we're going to be going through the campaign. That's a great first step. And then we're going to be moving ourselves over to where I was hanging out before inside of challenges. Am I right?
Yep. So this is where you're going to spend basically the majority, if not all of your stamina on a day-to-day basis. And these top four sections right here up at the top is really where we're going to spend most of it. But you'll see first that I want to go through is the threshold, right? That's that module drop area where you're going to get the majority of your gear. And all three of these areas, Terramatan, Doki Doki, and Aurora, are all really, really impactful for your account for different types of gear. But early game, I would say the best one to farm is Doki Doki.
Why? People are going to be wondering why Doki Doki? Why is that the best? What's it offering for you?
Well, I would say Doki Doki, first of all, offers a lot of that speed gear, right? And speed is king in all these games, especially with it being so arena focused and arena oriented in this genre. And especially, I would say in this game, especially, they really want to push that PvP with all the tournaments and events they're going to be doing in PvP.
Hmm.
You really want to focus on getting as much of that speed gear as you can, getting good rolls, and working to progress your speed. And especially in PvE, honestly, is going to make it so much easier to do when you get a lot of that swift rush set in the early game. Then obviously as you progress, and I think a lot of people come into this with, we're coming into it with very much that early game focus of here, who are the animus you can use, where are the areas you can farm in this early game to really progress you. And those threshold module drops of Swift Rush are so huge with that set bonus of an incredible amount of speed, honestly.
All right, so we're focusing on Threshold, specifically on Doki Doki inside of Threshold, but there's a lot of other options here, man. Like a lot of things that are going to progress over time. Should we be ignoring these things? Are there times when it's more relevant for us to go and farm those as well? Kind of take us through other areas that may still be valuable for us and let us know why those areas are also valuable.
Right. So first of all, I think we should definitely address the trial challenges, which is that second row, and then those limited events, which is that third row. Those you're not going to take as much of your stamina simply because you're not doing as many of those battles as you will when you're farming up the gear. So when you're going through any of these battles, which I think definitely we're going to be making guides on as we progress into that areas of content,
Mm-hmm.
those ones you're not going to be putting on background battles. Whereas that top row, those daily challenges, you really are going to be putting those on background farm every single day that you can, just making sure you're progressing through those as much as humanly possible. But I would say that those second tier and third tier of challenges are valuable, but they're not going to be the pain point when it comes to your stamina and what you're using the most of.
Got you. Understood. So the top row are the ones where you set it up, you put your phone down, you go take a shower, you come back, everything's done, and you got the resources you're looking for. While the ones down below, they're going to be they're going to be more specific hands-on events.
Exactly, exactly. And so on that top row, it's actually kind of cool they have it going on right now. If you look in the top left corner of that GP outpost, you'll
Hmm.
see that 2x up there. And what that's saying is that you actually get 2x drops on that area for each run that you do. And I would say the number one thing to do in that early game, because you're getting double drops, right? So whenever you get the opportunity, go in, get those double drops. And so GP Outposts, the prowess material is really good whenever you're farming for a specific animus, right? So you want to come in here, and I would say, you want to spend some of your stamina in here, but you're really only coming in here to upgrade the skills of a specific animus, right? So Leanne is a reason animus, and so you're going to want to come in here to farm that reason stages whenever you're coming in trying to get the module upgrade, well, not the module upgrades, the skill upgrades of Leanne. And that's again just an example, but that's really one that you'll want to come in and do that is going to be a lot of value and bring a lot of value to your account.
Oh, that's great. It's great that you shared that as well and kind of attached reason to Leanne and lets people understand a little bit better what all of these different options are. And thanks for clarifying that as well. All right, so we now know double drops are going to take precedence because you're getting twice the rewards, but really, I mean, investigation, grim pursuit, I'm going to ask you about those in a moment, but really, threshold Doki Doki is what percentage of your time would you say you're here on this one doing your farming, your auto
Ooh.
farming there?
Honestly, I would say for me, when I was in there, again, like everyone's going to play differently, right? There are
Uh
some
huh.
people that are going to say, as soon as you get to Aurora, start farming Aurora right away. Some people are going to say, farm Termaton, get that attack, that nuker damage gear as soon as you can. But for me, with Doki Doki, I would say over half of my time was spent in Doki Doki farming, trying to get speed gear. And that sounds like, oh my gosh, over half your time, like that doesn't seem like a whole lot. But when you realize that there's so much going on in this game, devoting all like 50% of your energy and your time into just one module drop is kind of crazy amount to think about when it comes to your stamina. And so I would say definitely Doki Doki was where it's at for me.
Okay, and what do you do with Grim Pursuit Investigation? We kind of just glazed over them really quickly. Are there any things in here that are of value? I mean, obviously there's value in there, but as far as our stamina goes, how would you gauge how much stamina we should be using there, or if any at all?
Right. So I would definitely say so investigation is always going to be impactful, right? In that early game, you're always going to want to try to put that on farm whenever you get the opportunity to, whenever you're not actively doing Doki Doki. Or if you're trying to farm a new stage of one of those module drop bosses, come throw some of your stamina right in there into investigation, because that's really how you're going to level up all your different animus, is right there in that investigation area. As far as Grim Pursuit, the shells that you're going to get there are going to be so impactful, right? It's so valuable. But what I do think is really good about those shell bosses is that you are going to have the opportunity to go in and use those different shells. They're going to have some level of their abilities just at base level without upgrading them, right? Because how you upgrade shells is by sacrificing copies of that same shell
Hmm.
into obviously the one they're trying to upgrade. So right here, you see Teacher Owl at its base is just a 1 star, and you have to then sacrifice two Teacher Owl to get it to 2 star, and then three of them to get up to 3 star. And as you get higher level shells and higher, like, and I mean that by going into higher bosses, you're going to get ones that require more stars. But you really can use them at 1 star. You want to upgrade them to 2 star and 3 star to get higher stats and higher skill levels for those shells. But I would say that it is not nearly as valuable as going in that early game and farming up those modules.
That makes a lot of sense. I appreciate you kind of breaking down what each of them does. Essentially, as you mentioned earlier on in the video, this game is very heavily focused on PvP, turn-based strategy, tournaments, and things like that. And to attain all of that, you're going to be focusing on the gear that you get through Doki Doki. That's really the primary build that we're putting together so that you can make those animus and those teams, put them in the best gear that they could potentially get. You get yourself a great animus, but they're only as good as the gear that you could put them in. So it seems like we have a nice strategy here for our stamina. As Hermes mentioned earlier on, we are on a developer's build right now, so we have insane amounts of stamina and of crystals and all that stuff. So this is just a test build. It's not my actual account, just so we could share some things with you. Any last tips that you have for everyone regarding stamina and how to most use it, or did we just kind of break it down?
I kind of broke it down, but I do obviously want to ask all the viewers out there. I know people are always going to be watching, but not necessarily commenting. Like, what areas are you really on launch going to be focusing all of your stamina on? Because I think that's important. Is that there's always something that a different perspective that you can gain from somebody else, and it's always interesting to hear what other people are thinking. Obviously, I've got what I think I'm going to be doing going into launch, but what are other people? What are their focuses going to be as far as farming? Like, are you really going to be going hardcore into Terra Matan? Maybe you'll go, oh, I'm going to split it 30, 30, 30, or 33, 33, 33 between all three of those module bosses. Or are you kind of going, I'm going to spend like 90% of my stamina on one specific boss? So I kind of like to hear what other people have to say about that.
No, I appreciate that as well. I mean, we have a whole community of people here watching. Some people have been playing the game even before we have in earlier betas, even the alpha. So we're always listening to what you guys have to say. A lot of opinions and options come through for teams, and we could test those out on our own account, or even here on the test build, and come back with updated videos with additional new teams. So definitely sound off down below. Let us know what your tips would be if they're different than the ones that we've shared with you. And Hermes, before we get out of here, I need to thank Etheria Restart for sponsoring the video. And remember, if you want to play the game, you want some enhanced rewards on day one, the QR code's been here the entire video, and there's a link in the description. Make sure you click it. It hooks up the channel, and it gets up you with a hooked up account on day one. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and got some value. If you did, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.